So I'm joined here today by Eric Bader and Jeffrey Graham. Welcome. Yesterday you presented on paid, earned and owned. Maybe just to talk a little about what we understand by paid, earned and owned and why this was an important topic for the initiative to present on.
Well, we found that for years we have been looking to find a way to codify what's available in the marketplace as levers and channels and options to be able to reach consumers. And we've tried lots of models, putting things into baskets of traditional media and new media and online media and offline media. In the end, the newest model that's gotten traction is using a paid, earned and owned model of codifying and classifying media. And what we mean by that is that paid media is what's available for sale from media owners. The things that are measured, that have some level of standard to them, that can be audited, that you buy off the shelf, and they produce any range from awareness all the way to actions, but you know exactly what you're buying, and there's a market value for it. Earned media is an entire area of where the customer, the consumer, is actually participating in the media, where they've taken the brand and they're sharing it, they're posting online their opinions, they're rating things with a star system, whatever it is. They're actively involved with the media, and there's an opportunity for brands to participate with consumers. It's not just a one-way channel, the way that paid media sometimes gets utilized. Owned media are the channels that brands themselves own, like websites, like mobile apps, where it's an open channel, but it has to be used in a way that again isn't just one way, but is actually participatory and allows for conversation with consumers. The challenge that we've made is that the use of it, the approach of just assuming that consumers all over the world are just one global consumer who behaves the exact same way, has led to some level of misuse of the model, to say that we should just sort of arbitrarily come up with a percentage in each of the baskets for how much money to spend against the objectives. But we found that for our practical use and for each of our clients, it has to be very locally driven, very driven by what consumers differentiate by in markets all over the world, and the fact that the three elements of paid, earned, and owned have to work very synergistically and in very different ways against different situations.
Okay, so you just mentioned the consumer in that, and obviously in order to do this presentation we did multi-market consumer research. But I mean, given that everyone is using paid, earned and owned as a classification, is working to that, why did we need to do this consumer research? What was the reason behind doing that?
You want to talk about it a little?
Sure. I mean, as Eric mentioned, the things that motivate people to buy products are very, very different across different markets. And the way that media influence and motivate people is very different. So that's why we looked at many different markets in 9 different markets around the world to try to understand that. And what we found is some very fundamental differences across these different markets. So for example, in China, for shampoo, it's very important for consumers to trust brands, because in China you don't have an established brand trust in a lot of categories. Whereas you go to a market like Australia, and price is much more important for reasons for their local market. So as we look around the world at Initiative, we have to use the research that's available to us, like Connections Panel, to understand how people and why people buy certain products, and then use our tools like Matrix to look at how different contact points can influence them.
Well, also I wanted to say that one of the reasons why we really needed to talk to consumers about this is that this is a model, it's kind of a linear construct when you start to codify things around paid, earned, and owned. And it just becomes theory. It just becomes marketing theory until you talk to customers about how they buy, and then you can apply the model, and it becomes very, very practical as you look at brands and as you look at the allocations and the way to spend money.
Okay. So from the findings of the research, what were the kind of 2 or 3 really big things that you wanted the audience to kind of take out yesterday? What were the key findings?
Well, the first thing, as Eric mentioned, is that there are very big differences across localities, so it's imperative for us to focus on local insight. The second thing is that the more that we can get consumers involved with our brand communication, the more healthy a brand is, and we saw that with our marketing analytics. When people talk about a brand, when people interact with the website, brands are more likely to grow. The third thing is that we need to make sure that we can harness the power of the consumer and this involvement across different touch points. And we've looked at successful brands where their paid media drives earned media, their paid media drives owned media, so you get people to go to a website to talk about the brand and create a virtuous cycle of consumer involvement.
Okay, so we're going to be sharing the findings of our research with the network very soon. Just maybe give an understanding of why this is important for initiative. What does this mean for initiative? Getting to grips with paid, earned, and owned.
I'll just mention 2 things, and then I'll let Eric you some implications. One is it creates a very strong call for more insight in local markets, more research. It shows the value of analytics in driving plans, and it really highlights the value of our tools because we have Connections Panel. We have Matrix that allows us to really unlock media plans, not just how many people can we reach or which media channels to use, but how can we really motivate people and create marketing plans, media plans that focus specifically on what gets people to buy a particular product.
And as an agency, our job is not to look at the major traditional channels that are at scale. We have to look at every touch point where the consumer is interacting with a brand, and that guides us. And so we have to understand all of the paid opportunities, how they work in conjunction with the owned and the earned in order to deliver a total picture and a total investment model and a total business growth opportunity model for clients. Until we know where all those touch points are and we understand how to use each of them, that's our job, and we haven't completed the opportunity and the job for clients until we've fully mapped that out and delivered on it.
Eric and Jeffrey, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sim.
Thanks for having us.